Hello, FASTrack parents and guardians. Today is September 18th, I believe. Yeah, that's right. Friday, September 18th, and this is our second installment of the FASTrack parent and guardian Q&A. I'm your host, Flora, and I'm delighted today to have two wonderful guests. We have my esteemed colleague, Suzanne Wilkin, who serves as an academic mentor for FASTrack and an instructor for EDHE 105. She's been teaching EDHE 105 for probably 7 or 8 years now, Suzanne, right?
7 years.
And so she's going to talk a little bit about how you can be encouraging your student, because all of your students are taking EDHE 105. How can you encourage them in that pursuit? And then I'm also pleased to introduce Jordain Lang. She is the Assistant Director for Student Activities at the Ole Miss Student Union. And she is going to talk a little bit about how first-year students can try to get plugged in on campus, and what that looks like in the midst of this plague, in the midst of the pandemic, as opposed to regular time. So I think it'll be really informative and helpful, and some things you can really encourage your student to participate in, to engage in, and then just some behaviors to adopt. So without any further ado, I'll pass the baton to my colleague, Suzanne Wilkin.
Good morning, everybody. I hope everyone's doing well and feeling well these days. Just a couple of quick points. One of the most important things, and I've encouraged my students a lot, and one of the things I want you to encourage your students to do, is to really put themselves on a schedule, and having them sort of making sure at least 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, getting up at about the same time every day, and engaging in activities and kind of engaging in all of their classes every day, even if it's just to check their calendar for a particular class and go, okay, good, I don't have anything due there. But they really need to get on a schedule. Some of the students are having difficulty doing that and difficulty with time management, but putting themselves on that sort of regular schedule is really going to help them. I've encouraged my students that really what they need to be doing is they need to look at their schedule, and in their My Ole Miss account, it has their schedule, and it has when their class would normally meet. If this was not a pandemic and they were actually going to class, it'll tell them that Writing 101 meets at Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock or whatever time. EDHE 105 meets at 9:30 on Tuesday morning. So on Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 10 o'clock, they should be doing their Writing 101 work. On Tuesday and Thursday at 9:30, they should be doing their EDHE 105, or whenever they have psychology and sociology or whatever their classes are. It's really important for them to set a schedule for themselves and to set a routine for themselves. And so I would encourage you to encourage them to do that. For so long, students didn't really have to think about their day. When they were in high school, they were told what time school started, when to change classes, when to go to lunch, when the day ended. And then after that, many of them had a practice of some kind. Maybe they went to a job, they would come home, have dinner, maybe do some homework, go to bed, and then kind of start it all over again without really putting any thought into their day. They didn't have to, but now they have to. And it's really important to really also get them out of their residence halls. The library is open. They can go to the library and study and do their work. There's plenty of spaces on campus. The union is open. They can sit in the union. But they need to find those study sanctuaries, that's what I call them, that are going to be spaces where they can be really productive and feel really good. So that, let's get up in the morning at the same time. Let's go get some breakfast. Let's go to our study sanctuary and let's get our work going. Let's do our work. And then let's add in some physical activity, a walk around campus, or the South Campus Rec Center is open, as is the Turner Center. Those are our two athletic facilities on campus. I encourage them to get some physical activity in as well, and also some relaxation time. They also do need some downtime, some, watch a show, watch Thursday Night Football last night, watch college football, or if they have a show they like to watch, or some reading or whatever hobby that they have. But they need to schedule these all in their day. And some students are really struggling. They just kind of don't know where to start. They're sleeping late in the morning because they don't feel like they have to get up. And we want to encourage them that they do need to get up. What they are doing here is really important. And I think they're really brave and resilient for deciding, you know what, I'm not going to let this stop my college dreams. I'm not going to let this stop me from getting my education and going forward, which is really great. But we have to get them into the routine of college. So my biggest encouragement is to please have your students set that schedule, include some of those relaxation things. It's not about studying all of the time. As Miss Jackie says, our advisor, we've got to marry the University of Mississippi, which has really good academic standards, and Ole Miss, which is a whole lot of fun. So we need to figure out how to marry those two things, and getting a schedule and managing their time is going to be probably the most important.
Thank you, Suzanne. That is just the truth right there. And one thing I think that's important to remember too is that EDHE, and Suzanne, please jump in with me in this. Our EDHE 105 class is essentially supposed to be serving, like one of its purposes is to serve as a class that helps you get organized for the rest of your classes and set expectations. I know in my classes, I think in Suzanne's classes and the rest of the FASTrack sections, we're all going into the semester hoping we can give 20 A's.
Yeah.
We want to do that, you know, because this is not a class where we're like, you have to master this material like you do chemistry in fact, you know, because if you don't master this to a certain level, you know, people are going to, you know, we're not going to have a vaccine for COVID or something like that. We're wanting to just set you up to do well in all the rest of your classes. We don't have any big, like, you know, delusions about like this class being more academically important than your writing class or your math class. But the problem is we never do get to give all A's because students don't take the class seriously and follow the directions that are clearly laid out. We have every FASTrack EDHE 105 section has a detailed syllabus with a timeline of when things are expected to do, and students just have to do them. It's not that they have to be, you know, elite in every way, but you have to keep up with our class. And you're going to want, and the reality is though, this semester, when it comes to factoring in your child's GPA, EDHE 105 is going to matter just as much as psychology, just as much as biology and all those things. And you want to get an A in our class. Right?
Absolutely. I mean, and to your point, Gray, so, right, our class isn't, the academic rigor of our class is not necessarily what other classes are, but the assignments that we have, the work that we're giving, the discussions that we're having, and the participation by the students has value to them. It's important that they do it because it leads to success in other areas. Just because it's not hard or doesn't, you know, it's not laying the foundation for the rest of their major, it does have a tremendous amount of value in helping them figure out how to do college. How do we do this? How, you know, and figuring out these experiences and all that kind of stuff. So our, you know, we're the sort of very bottom of the pyramid, right? If we're trying to go up this, we're trying to give them those good skills, those good experiences that are going to help. So yeah, I mean, Gray, you're exactly right. Engaging in the work that we have is critically important, not because it's going to, you know, like you said, build on their major, but because it's going to help them develop great habits and skills so that they can be successful in all of those classes. And yeah, our 3-credit A is equivalent to the hardest 3-credit A they are going to have at this university. So we can balance that out, right? We can help them in that way, but yeah, they got to engage. They got to
right.
engage.
And you know, so what I think it looks like for you as a parent and guardian is just saying, look, you need to buy into what your EDHE 105 instructor is telling you. Not only because for 2 reasons, it's going to help you in your class, and number 2, they're wanting to give you an A. and you need an A for that GPA. Let's just, so buy into what they're saying. Suzanne, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. Thank you so much for giving us a little insight in how we can encourage students in EDHE 105. And we'll see you soon.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye. Okay, Jordan. Looks like, so it's just going to be the two of us now. So as I said earlier, you're the Assistant Director of Student Activities at the university. And we have a lot of parents that are asking about how can their students connect during the time of COVID, especially, and also just what's available, what's not available because of the pandemic, and then what are the options? How can students get involved? And so, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me. Any chance I get to talk about student engagement and student involvement is always a joy to me. I'm a first-gen student myself, and so going to college was scary, at my undergraduate institution, but getting involved and getting engaged in my undergrad experience made a complete difference for me. It made my experience great. There are a lot of studies out there that confirm and tell us that students that are involved and are engaged within campus life more likely to graduate, more likely to persist, and just all around have a better collegiate experience. And so that's the favorite part of my job. And I totally hear, the concerns from parents and my colleagues and coworkers about what the student involvement experience looks like now, because obviously it looks a little bit different these days than it did maybe even a year ago. So I'm really excited to talk about some different ways that your students can stay engaged on campus or start that experience if they haven't had the opportunity to yet, because it's never too late to do that. My job as assistant director of student activities is first and foremost to create programming for your students on campus, to create free, fun events for them to go to in a safe manner, of course. So a big part of my job is advising our student programming board called the Student Activities Association. They're a group of 100 students, and their sole job on this campus is to work with me in putting together student-led events. We have over 100 events every year, which is a lot, and they range from everything from beauty pageants to concerts to food giveaways to movies in the Grove. I mean, it really is a mixed bag of opportunities for students. There really is something for everyone, is something that we like to say. We have 5 different committees that put on those events. Those committees are pageants, homecoming, who puts on all of our homecoming soirees, entertainment, who heads up those concerts on campus and different venues like Ole Miss Idol for students to showcase their singing capabilities. Battle of the DJs is also an event in there. Our special events committee, who take care of a lot of our traditional events like Hotty Toddy Holidays, and of course Welcome Week, which is our welcome back celebration that we put on every year. And then finally 360 committee, which is our committee that helps put on what we like to call some of our more niche events like corn dogs and puppies on the plaza and Leap Into Leap Day. They do such a great job of keeping a pulse on the student body, and they do really great work on campus to make sure that there are free fun events for your students to attend that range from daytime programming to late night programming. So they're a really great group. Those students post all of their events and opportunities to attend their events on our student engagement platform online called Campus Labs Engage. We call it the Forum for short, for It's kind of a play on words.
And Jordan, after this, you'll send me some links for y'all's social and for some of these things that I will put in the comments or put in the description of this video. So that'll be access to you all. Just look in the description part of under this video. So sorry.
No, absolutely. Thank you for plugging that in. So all of those events are available on the forum, and your student already has a forum account linked to their SAP login and information. So if they want to find something to do, that's what I always suggest, is to log into forum. There's an events tab on there, and listed underneath that are all of the events that are happening on campus, whether those are Student Activities Association events or not. That is where students can go to find events on campus. Of course, we're keeping them safe. Like I mentioned earlier, programming does look a little bit different. We're not having concerts, due to coronavirus, and some of our programming has been scaled back a bit, but we're definitely taking all of those sanitation measures and all of the rules and regulations set in place by the university in mind to keep students safe at those events. So if your students are looking for something to do and meet people, that is a great place to go. I highly suggest that. And I hope I'm not getting, oh, go ahead, Gray.
Do you mind if I think I can give you permission to share your screen, and maybe you just get on there for a little bit and show us some, show us kind of the quick version of what a student will be looking for when they're looking for something to do.
Absolutely, I would love to do that.
Thanks.
Sure thing. Great.
Okay, are you sharing? Okay, thanks for sharing your screen with us, Jordan. And this is the app, this is the website that you were talking about that would be where students would go to find some things that are available to do on campus.
Yes, absolutely. So this is what the forum looks like. I'll take us to the homepage first so we can start there, and we'll just sort of dive into all the things that this platform has to offer. So again, your student already has an account to the forum. They'll just need to log in up here with their Ole Miss ID and password, and they'll be let in. So we have a home tab, events tab, organizations, news, and forms. So this is the events tab that I was talking about earlier. And on here we have all of the events that are happening on campus. All of these events have been pre-approved by my colleagues in this department. So they've gone through all of the necessary steps to ensure that this event that is on the forum is safe and approved for students to attend. So we see here there's a study abroad fair happening. There's a club tennis practice. If we scroll down more, we can see there are Bible studies happening. There really is a ton of stuff on here. And I would suggest students checking this just every couple of days because new events are added almost daily. So this is what that events tab looks like. And I'm going to click on an event just so we can see the inside of that. So I've selected the Study Abroad Fair. So on this little panel over to the right side, we can see the date and time of the event, also the location. A lot of events are virtual these days, so that's important to note. This one looks like it's online. They have the link event right here ready for us to use if we want to go. And I always suggest to students that if you're planning on going to an event, go ahead and sign in to RSVP for that event. Organizations and campus departments really appreciate that. So we've got a little description down here of what we're actually going to. They've already put the meeting ID in here. That's super awesome. And a whole itinerary of what's happening at that fair, as well as the host organization. So if I have any questions about this event, all I have to do is click on the Office of Global Engagement's contact page, and look, their email is right there for me to email them. So
right there.
Review process, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So lots of fun events on there. And also, we talked a bit about student engagement as well. I want to go ahead and point out the organizations page on here. So if your student is overwhelmed by the prospect of what to get involved in, which is totally understandable, we do have over 400 student organizations on campus. Everything ranging from the Milk and Cookies Association.
I'm the faculty sponsor for that, by the way.
Are you really? No way.
Yeah.
That is so cool. I've never done that. So yeah, Milk and Cookies Association, let's go. But
sorry, I interrupted you from the Milk and Cookies Association all the way down to.
That is okay. But there's just a lot of organizations from Milk and Cookies Association to student government, to philanthropy organizations, everything is on here. So if we're having trouble narrowing down what we want to get involved in, you can select here, student organizations. Let's select that. And let's say that I'm a student that's interested in health and wellness organizations. That's something that I'm really passionate about. It's going to show me all of these organizations on campus that fall underneath that. So Active Minds at University of Mississippi, that's an organization and a nonprofit that's national that raises voices and concerns for mental health on campus. down to student wellness ambassadors that do a lot of work with the William McGee Center on campus. So that's a little RASA on there, Rebels Against Sexual Assault, Rebels for Suicide Prevention, a lot of cool organizations that we have on campus.
Awesome.
And one last thing that I wanted to point out is on these organizations, there are a lot here, but we have a sole organization, they're actually brand new on campus, that are called the Leadership and Engagement Ambassadors. And their sole purpose on campus is getting your student involved. So I'm going to click in ambassadors here. I'm going to take these filters off just very quickly. So I've searched for ambassadors down here. We have a lot of different ambassadors on campus, but I'm going to click Leadership and Engagement Ambassadors on here. This is a whole group on campus that is a peer mentorship program that's dedicated to helping students get involved. So we have a whole consultation process set up. So if I'm a first-year student or even a second-year student, a junior or senior, and I'm going, I don't know what I want to get involved in, there's just too much, we have a whole consultation request form. So if your student comes on here under organizations and searches for Leadership and Engagement Ambassadors, they're going to take them to this page. There's this cutie little video if they want to watch that. But really important down here is the Leadership and Engagement Ambassador Involvement Consultation Request form. They're going to plug in their personal information, and then they'll get to meet one-on-one with an ambassador that will sit down with them, walk them through the forum that we just talked about, all of the different organizations, and actually get them plugged in and talking to the presidents of these organizations and help them find the things that they're passionate about. So that's something that I'm super excited that we've started out of our department and something that we've had really great feedback on.
That's awesome. Yeah, so that could be something for parents and guardians to maybe encourage your student, and Jordan's going to send me things so we can link this in the video for them to really check out this ambassador program, because especially in the times of COVID, just having someone that you can actually talk to and connect you on some of these things can really make a big difference. So Jordan, this has all been so helpful, and thank you for sharing your screen with us. I'm delighted to see that you're practicing healthy battery life. You've got it all charged up to 100, so that's good. Is there anything else maybe that you feel like you would want parents and guardians of first-year students here to know?
Yeah, absolutely. I know times are so different, and I know especially for first-year students, they didn't have like the end of their senior year experience that they wanted, and then walking into a collegiate experience that is so different and can be frustrating. We're super and totally all in and committed to making sure that your student gets plugged in on campus and finds that space and place where they feel comfortable and passionate about the work that they're doing. We have a whole email set up just called getinvolved@olemiss.edu. And if your students have any questions, don't know where to start, please email that account. I'll get in touch with them and make sure that they are getting the most out of their experience here. So
awesome.
That's all I've got. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Jordan, I can't thank you enough for your time. This is really helpful, and really, I know that, taking a lot of questions from parents and guardians about getting involved and getting engaged. And you just really showed us a lot about how the University of Mississippi and Ole Miss is really working hard, thanks to folks like you, to really care for students in the midst of unprecedented circumstances. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I'm going to go ahead and leave, Gray, but thank you for hosting.
My pleasure. Thanks.
Bye.
Okay, everyone. I thought those were two really excellent, just kind of snippets and talks about EDHE 105 and the importance of that, but then also Jordan with the Assistant Director of Student Activities here at the university really gave some insight into a lot of things that really a lot of you all have been asking about in terms of helping your student get connected on campus. That's something that is a natural thing that some people have trouble with, even in normal non-pandemic times. Obviously, the thing about COVID, anything that's tough COVID exacerbates it. And so it's even tougher right now, but I think some of the things that Jordan talked about today could be really helpful and make the difference for a lot of students and help them, get out of their dorm room. We talked about in our last video about, all the options for campus rec to get them going and moving around physically, but then also I think all of those, I was just encouraged to see all of those events and all those things they can sign up for. And if they're on that list, they've been sanctioned by the university as safe. So you don't have to worry about your students' safety in those things. So that's just really wonderful. So what I'm going to do now is I've got some of your questions, and I'm going to read those and answer them the best I can. So first, a parent said that students have been complaining about a requirement for a platform used by sociology class that basically takes over their computer and shuts off second monitors and gives them access to their microphone and camera. And this has potential, and this parent is worried that this program has potential for breach of the rest of their machine. And they were wanting to know, the parent, if this is the only class using this platform and if there is a chance the adoption of the platform can be changed. So I have followed up with the Department of Sociology about this, and they said that the program they're using does not in any way compromise a student's data or a student's personal information on their computer. And as far as them using that as opposed to Blackboard or just Zoom, like other places, all these different departments on campus, all these different professors have, many of them have tenure. They have what's called academic freedom, which allows them autonomy in the way they think about best getting their information, best getting their information and teaching it to their students. That doesn't mean they're not open for critiques and suggestions. And so, and most of them, I think we have an incredibly supportive faculty here, and especially in the times of the coronavirus, our faculty and as well as our staff want to be helpful to students and recognize that everyone needs a little grace right now. So if you have a student that's having a particular issue with the way their instruction is being delivered, my best advice is to reach out to the professor, and do that in a respectful, earnest way. And I can help craft an email. I'll be happy to talk you as a parent and guardian through that, or your student through that. But yeah, there is definitely, I get the frustration of everything not being uniform in terms of how classwork is delivered online and things like that. But the reality is, where in high school, everything's kind of under one roof. The University of Mississippi, while we're all together and part of this family, there is also autonomy for different departments to deliver instruction in the way that works best for them, that they feel is going to be most effective. That's a great question. So let's keep going. How is FASTrack program helping students develop skills to become engaged scholars and responsible citizens with how COVID has changed the format of the classes? Well, that's a great question in light of our guest today, Ms. Suzanne Wilkin, and our topic about EDHE 105 class. The EDHE 105 class, which your student is participating in person once a week, and then online the other part of the week, we're all about, in those classes, helping students thinking about study skills, how to take advantage of resources, how to manage their time, how to just kind of, for lack of a better term, do college. And then also we're wanting to expose them to as many different resources and as many different ways to be successful on this campus as possible. So in that way, I think that that's how FASTrack, through our EDHE 105 instruction and through the care and time and dedication that all of our instructors put into that class. Again, it's not, as we talked about before when we had Suzanne on, It's not that we're thinking that this is has to be the most academically rigorous and erudite class at the University of Mississippi. We have no delusions about that, but we are very committed to its importance because it helps students be active scholars and citizens in our campus community and in all of their classes moving forward. We really believe, and I've seen it happen throngs and throngs of times, that where students have applied the lessons they've learned in EDHE 105, and it's led to success in all of their classes. So that's a great question. Let's keep going. So this is a very common question. This is an excellent question. They're all excellent, but so the biggest challenge my freshman is facing is navigating social issues in light of the pandemic. So many people are continuing pre-pandemic life choices. My students' goal is to respect the reality and responsibilities that a pandemic of a highly contagious disease brings with it. Yet every weekend, my student is faced with stark choices of, do I go with these people to something unsafe and possibly endanger myself and others, or do I have no social life? What can FASTrack do to support a healthy lifestyle in this current reality? That is something that I think so many parents, as you heard me reading that question, were probably saying, yes, I'm with you, because we recognize that students are feeling torn in every sense of the word, where it's like, well, I want to be social, I want to have these things to do, but I also want to be safe and respectful. And I think I want to step back from that and first just say, as sincerely as I can, that I'm sorry that your children are having to make that choice, and that's part of what you're having to deal with as a parent and guardian while they're in college. That is not fair. That is not something that your predecessors as parents and guardians at universities all over the country have ever had to deal with. And it is a unique responsibility that has been placed on you. And having a 3.5-year-old and an 8-month-old, I don't have to make those kind of decisions. And I am sorry, that's part of your reality right now. It's not always going to be, but it is right now. And I recognize that that's just got to be just wrenching in so many ways. And what do you tell your student in this time? I know that it's really difficult, but to kind of step back in and answer the question, I think the things Jordain talked about earlier are great ways to think, are great ways for students to feel like they're having a social life and getting involved. I also think that, we at the University of Mississippi, I think, kind of sit at the intersection of intellectual knowledge and kind of soft skills, relationship building. I think, a student that comes out with a really great education from our university is, up for academic rigor and works hard and is smart intellectually, but also is relational and cares for people well. And that is why you see our alums being leaders all over the globe after they graduate. I think that's something really special about Ole Miss, and I've been at a lot of different universities. And so it is super important that your child is social here. But right now, this semester, especially in the times of this pandemic, I think that we have to reset expectations about what having an active social life is going to look like. It's not going to be like maybe we all envision and we all hope for students at the University of Mississippi prior to this pandemic and post this pandemic. And so I would tell your students in this position, first of all, like, we want them to be safe. We want them to respect the guidelines of our city, of our state, and especially of our campus. And I think using the forum, using the different resources that Jordain talked about earlier, could be a great way to connect with people that are committed to safety during this time. And also recognizing that, this may be an opportunity to really dive into academics and getting your child getting themselves off on a really great on a really great footing academically with a solid GPA their first semester here in college. And as things, as restrictions ease, being able to, amp up their social life when they've already kind of, mastered their routine, like Suzanne talked about earlier, and they've already kind of gotten the lay of the land of what it looks like to study and to be in college independently and just in a different environment than high school. So that's a great question. So let's keep going. Only 3 more. This parent says that they feel like that teachers are cramming coursework into a smaller time frame since the semester ends at Thanksgiving. This parent's question goes on to say, what are teachers doing to help students be successful under these circumstances, and who is holding teachers accountable? And she goes on to say that her child has not laid eyes on many professors and is feeling concerned about how well she's doing in their classes. So this is a great question. First of all, the teachers are all dedicated to working in the midst of this pandemic, but like all of us in our personal and professional lives, it is difficult. It is not the way we planned. And I know that, and also having a condensed semester has been a challenge. And my best advice for specifically just when it comes to the coursework, the course load into class, or being able to figure out where you stand in the class, is to reach out actively, even if it takes a couple of emails before the faculty member responds, and making sure as a student that I'm getting some FaceTime or I'm getting some Zoom time with my professor. If I have, if their office hours conflict with when I'm available, sending an email and trying to set up a separate time, just making sure that you can have an interface with the professor to understand where you stand and understand where they're coming from. And if you bring concerns to them in a tactful, respectful manner, they're people just like everyone else, and they're going to receive that well. But I do recognize that it's difficult, especially when students we're all used to being taught in person primarily. And for that not to be taking place for most FASTrack students outside their EDHE 105 class it's terrible. And I'm sorry that that's how it is right now. It's not always going to be like that. And under any other circumstances, that would be unacceptable. But this is where we are. And so the best thing to do, I think, is to really is to encourage your students to really take their education in each class into their own hands. As difficult as that may sound, or as counterintuitive as that may sound, but in this moment, I feel like it is the way to go about things, and really pursue information and developing a relationship, for lack of a better word, with each of their faculty members. And that is the best way to stay engaged. That's a great question. If there's follow-ups for things like that, I'm happy to talk through that in specific situations offline. You all know how to get in touch with me. It's just gray@olemiss.edu, and we can set up a time to talk about that. I recognize that in some ways that's a very boutique question because it's going to look differently for each student. I'm happy to talk through that with you. Okay, 2 more. If my student is having a difficult time with their roommate, what are the options to be reassigned? Should they go to housing office? How do they do that? Can they get a waiver to live off campus? So that's a great question. If your student is having trouble with their roommate, the first place they need to go is to their CA, community assistant. They know who their CA is. And the CAs are highly trained and more than equipped to handle these kind of disputes because, since dormitories were created, this has been something that, people in higher education have dealt with. And not that every situation is not unique and has its own challenges, but it is something that they're prepared and trained to work on. So starting with the CA, and if they decide that living together is no longer an option, the CA is the one that gets the next steps in motion. So that is where your student goes first. As for getting a waiver to live off campus, again, that would start with the CA, and we trickle up to through the Department of Housing. And as far as how difficult that is to obtain, I don't know. It's not something that honestly we deal with very much on campus. And I think right now, or, in FASTrack, and I think right now more than ever, it's really important, if your child can, to stay on campus. I think this is a safe place for our students. And I also think it helps them engage more in the university life. Just like we talked about with Jordan earlier, there are opportunities to be engaged even in the midst of this plague. Okay, one more question. When / if restrictions are expected to, if restrictions are expected to loosen, and whether the university plans to offer outdoor activities or other options for in-person small groups. Okay, so basically what that question was asking is, when are the restrictions going to be lifted? When are they going to be modified? And then in the meantime, like, what's going to be offered on and off campus, outdoors, etc. Here's what I can say. And what I can say is all that I know. I'm not withholding anything from you all. Now, granted, I think you all know that you're not dealing with some high-powered administrator. I'm not that, but I feel like tuned into and can speak with some level of articulation about kind of the mood on campus moving forward. What I will tell you is, we do not know what this spring is going to look like. I wish we had a better idea. It depends on where you follow numbers as far as where the pandemic's going. I feel like the last week to 2 weeks, things in our state and in our region, and then honestly in the country, have shown me some reason to be optimistic even though we all know that with every loss or every illness that takes place, it's horrible and regrettable, and it breaks my heart. But we will see what happens on a national and an international level, and that will dictate what the spring looks like. And I can tell you too that the University of Mississippi is eager to get back to normal, and anything they can. And we've got, the university has a teaching medical center that is top notch, that is even working on coronavirus vaccines. We have really, really excellent physicians in this state, and we're taking our cues from them. Our administration is taking our cues from them, and as soon as it's safe to move forward, and as soon as it's safe for restrictions to be lifted, they will be lifted for sure. I know that's probably not what you want to hear, but that's all I know. And as for events and things going on campus, again, I'm going to keep, kind of a broken record, referring back to Jordan's talk earlier, and the screen she shared using the forum and looking at the events and things like that. That's one thing that's great about YouTube, is you can pause it and go back to that and send this link to your child and encourage them to do all those things that she was talking about. And also, FASTrack is looking into how we can help, if there are things we can do in person, physically distanced and safe. And those conversations are ongoing, meaning that we are, thinking about what we could do, and then finding out from the university what we are allowed to do under the current restrictions and guidelines. And all I can tell you is that we recognize and we hear you that a lot of students are struggling right now to feel connected and to feel, just to feel included in campus life. And we feel that in our office very acutely. And please reach out to me, reach out to have your student reach out to their peer mentor, to their academic mentor, and I can direct you to students' academic mentors. Even though things don't look like we want them to, we still want to reach out and give as much personal attention to each student as possible. Again, thank you so much. We appreciate, as a department, you as parents and guardians, feeling like you wanted to have your students be a part of our program during their freshman year. It's a joy for us. Thank you so much.